Good day, everyone. I am Justin Giltrimore, and I will be presenting to you my case study about the maritime disaster of MV SuperFerry 12 or the motor vessel SuperFerry 12. Executive Summary. I chose MV SuperFerry 12 because there have been countless collision accidents in Philippine waters, and the potential of recurrence is constantly present. So marami nang naging major maritime accidents or incidents na nag-occur dito sa Pilipinas, and those incidents claimed thousands of lives already. Most of these sea disasters have been dubbed as the worst in maritime history in peacetime. Actually, yung Philippines, na-feature na siya sa Guinness Book of Record as having suffered the highest number of casualties in an accident at sea. Now let's move on into the introduction. Super Ferry 12 was formerly the Hankyu Ferry of Japan's New Miyako, renamed Aboitiz Super Ferry 12. So dati hindi pa talaga Super Ferry 12 yung pangalan niya. It was actually the former New Miyako of Hankyu Ferry of Japan. Tas nabenta siya sa WGNA noong 1999. That is the time lang na na-rename siya as Aboitiz Super Ferry 12. Yang name na Super Ferry 12 yung pinaka may context kasi yan yung pangalan na dala-dala niya for most of her years. Yung ibang tao is mas na-identify siya as Super Ferry 12. Next, once known as the face of WGNA, featured as the model vessel during 1990s. Yung Super Ferry 12, tinawag siyang face of WGNA kasi ginagamit siya before as model vessel, like sa mga commercial videos and photos nung 90s. She was also featured in numerous local film and television programs. Through that, na-showcase yung elegance and ganda ng vessel, tapos napopromote na rin ng WGNA yung Super Ferry 12. Completed her construction on January 26, 1984. Kanda Zosensho. Si Kanda Zosensho, siya yung nag-build sa Super Ferry 12 and na-complete siya noong January 26, 1984. Then, lastly, collided with the passenger cargo boat, MV San Nicolas. So, I'll explain the collision further. Let us first move to the overview of the situation or phenomena para mabigyan kayo ng ideas and more knowledge about the incident. So, overview of the situation or phenomena. May 25, 2003 at 11:45 a.m. So, that is when the collision happened. Next is 50 miles south of Manila near Limbones Island of the coast of Cavite Province. So, this is where the collision happened naman. So, yung San Nicolas kasi yung route niya is pabalik na ng Manila. Then, yung MV Super Ferry 12 naman is paalis na ng Manila. Next, the wooden-hulled San Nicolas collided with the steel-hulled Super Ferry 12. So, basically, they are going on in different directions, and they were supposed to pass each other on their starboard sides, but they ended up port to port. The Super Ferry 12 was cruising out of Manila Bay when the smaller ship hit it, and then since wooden-hulled yung smaller ship and steel-hulled yung Super Ferry 12, the ship's front part broke apart and it sank very fast. That is based on a survivor who was taken aboard sa Super Ferry 12. Nagkaroon ng 25 deaths and 203 were rescued. For further understanding, let's now move on to the analysis. For analysis, number 1. Some people aboard were not listed on the manifest. So, the San Nicolas listed 168 passengers and 25 crew, but Coast Guard officials said more people apparently were aboard but not on the manifest. Common practice na din to sa Pilipinas which is not good kasi nga we can't expect accidents. Kaya may mga incidents na like this collision, if hindi listed lahat ng passengers sa manifest, then hindi ma-identify exactly kung na-save ba lahat or may nawawala pa. So, number 2, communication breakdown. So, based on my research, sabi ni Transportation Secretary Leandro Mendoza, the ships had been talking to each other and had tried to avoid colliding, suggesting a communications breakdown may have helped cause the accident. Kasi kung may successful communication yung dalawang ships, possible na ma-avoid nila yung collision. May inform ng captain or ng person in charge kung magmamaneuver siya or mag-a-adjust yung isa. Next, unsuccessful maneuver. Based on Defense Secretary Angela Reyes said, the captain attempted a maneuver to avoid the ferry, but the maneuver was not executed perfectly. He steered his vessel into the side of the SuperFerry 12, which causes the vessel to sink quickly after the collision. Fourth, ended up port to port. As what I have said kanina, they are actually going in opposite directions, and they were supposed to pass each other on their starboard sides, but they ended up port to port. A wooden-hulled vessel versus a steel-hulled one. Mabilis talaga masisira and magsisink yung wooden-hulled. That is why maraming namatay and nirescue sa San Nicolas. Yun yung vessel na wooden-hulled. Lastly, drug after getting snug on a metal boarding ladder. This is what happened when the San Nicolas vessel hit the bigger ship. According to the survivors, the San Nicolas hit the SuperFerry 12 past the halfway point on its port side and was dragged after getting snug on a metal boarding ladder. This is when the ship started to sink. Now, let's move on to the shipping organizations. In shipping organizations, we have William Gotham and Oboitis Incorporated, Oboitis Transport System, To Go, and IMO. So, lahat yan is connected. Basically, yung To Go Group Inc. or To Go, na-form and organized noong May 26, 1949 under the corporate name William Lines Incorporated. Then, noong December 21, 1995, kinonsolidate naman ng William Lines Incorporated, Carlos A., Gotham Lines Incorporated, and the Boitis Shipping Corporation yung resources and expertise nila. And that marked the birth of William Gotham and Aboitiz Incorporated, or in short, WGNA. Doon na nabuo yung WGNA. Then, no February 4, 2004, pinalitan na ng WGNA yung corporate name nila to Aboitiz Transport System Corporation as a result ng buyout made by Aboitiz Equity Ventures Incorporated ng Chongbian and Gotham Holdings in WGNA in 2002. So, na-approve yung subsequent change of the corporate name to the present one ng Securities and Exchange Commission noong March 9, 2012. Dito naman sa To Go and IMO, I'm sure familiar na kayo or naririnig nyo yung To Go, no? So, To Go is engaged in the movement of people and cargo operating under brand names To Go Travel, which is for passage business, and To Go Freight for cargo business. Yung company and subsidiaries is nagpa-provide ng shipping, logistics, and distribution services sa mga maliliit and medium enterprises, sa large corporations, and sa government agencies through the Philippines. Yung To Go is also compliant with the International Maritime Organization or IMO's International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea and the International Association of Classification Societies. So, yung fuel efficient na rin siya and ready to comply with the low sulfur vessel fuel requirement na under ng IMO 2020. Next slide is impact on maritime economics. So, we have bad travel advisory. So, unang-una, dahil sa trauma na rin nadulot ng collision, kasi 'di ba ang dami ring namatay and ni-rescue. Yung iba is missing pa due to the manifest na incomplete. Travel advisories are important kasi they inform travelers of potential risks in the country of destination as well as areas that travelers are not advised to tread on. These risks could range from threats to security, safety, health, local laws, or natural and man-made disasters. Second one is profit margin on income will be drastically reduced. So dahil nga konti na lang or nabawasan na yung mga passengers compared sa original limit na kaya ng ship, bababa na rin yung income, hindi tulad ng dati. Third one is decreasing economic growth. So, declining wage growth and contraction of the money supply are characteristics of negative growth, and economists view negative growth as a sign of a possible recession or depression. Lastly, lack of finances. Due to recession or depression, this is where businesses see less demand and begin to lose money. Next one is the recommendations and solutions. So, thorough understanding of navigational principles and competent seamanship techniques. So, the person in charge has the responsibility to bring the passengers to their destination safe and sound. That is why it is important to have a thorough understanding of navigational principles and competent seamanship techniques to avoid sea accidents and misfortunate events. Next is any other activities should be avoided by the person in charge of a nautical watch. The captain or whoever is in charge should focus on what he's doing in order to avoid incidents such as collisions. Third is color regs must be thoroughly understood and implemented. So, color reg group requires all vessels to always keep a proper lookout, display appropriate day shapes, night navigational lights, and use sound signals as needed. Travel at a safe speed appropriate to the prevailing circumstances and conditions. Use all available means to determine if there is any risk of collisions. Take early, inappropriate use of navigational lights and shapes, and finally, positive and readily apparent actions to avoid close quarters situations. If it is properly implemented, mas malilesen yung disgrasya or unfortunate events na pwedeng mangyari while traveling. So, small vessels must not hinder the passage of a vessel that can only safely cross a small channel or fairway. And lastly, must maintain adequate speed to maintain steerage and maneuverability. Next one is the conclusion. So, the accident's negative impact on the maritime economy. As I have stated earlier sa impact on maritime economics, the collision that happened on MV SuperFerry 12 and MV San Nicolas negatively impacts the maritime economy. Due to recession or depression, this is where business see less demand and begin to lose money. Next one is lack of understanding for the rules of the sea. Like the incomplete list of the manifest, dahil doon hindi ma-state exactly kung may nawawala pa ba or kung may hindi pa sila nare-rescue na passengers. Especially that time, umuulan ng malakas. That's why di nila alam kung i-continue pa ba nila yung rescue operation nila. Kasi hindi sila sure kung mahinahanap pa ba sila or kung na-rescue na rin ba nila lahat. To think na rescuers itself is nasa panganib din dahil sa malakas nga na ulan. Next is poor navigation and lack of prudent seamanship. So the person in charge has a lot on his plate. Color reg is really important sa isang captain because through that, they can avoid or lessen the risks and incidents na pwedeng mangyari. So these are the references that I've used for my case study. That's all. That's all for my case study about MV SuperFerry 12. Thank you for listening.